Okay, so my name is Vikramjit Singh and I studied engineering. I worked a software job, then I worked as a copywriter in advertising, and now I'm a full-time writer and stand-up comedian. So you can either call me unstable or very brave, depending on whether you're my mom. And I'm guessing that's why I've been called here, because those are diverse experiences, and a lot of you would be feeling those things about, what is my true calling. In fact, when I sent them my abstract, I told them I would be talking on this whole business of following your true calling. Does that even mean something? And if it does, what does it really mean? So I'm just going to be telling you my experiences and leave you free to form your own opinions about it. Because if there's one thing I know about college is that if there's one thing you hate as much as you love happy hours, it is advice. So I'm not going to be giving you any advice. Now, when I tell people I'm a stand-up comedian, a lot of people invariably think I'm doing that thing of following my dream or living what my heart says. Ironically, I don't feel it's something that spiritual now that I've done it. Like Paulo Coelho would disagree with me there. But I think it's why I do what I do and how I came here. It's just a series of coincidences and circumstances where I just made a few choices. It's a bit like when you're hungry and you have those few choices in front of you and you just choose the best possible thing you want to eat. And that's it. You were not born to eat that cheeseburger pizza. Okay? And that's pretty much how I look at my thing. Because what happens is, I think what the part that will connect with you, most people I meet, all age groups, everyone has that thing of what am I really doing with my life? Everyone gets really existential. If you're college students, a lot of you are like, within the middle of your course, you realize, oops, I don't like the subject I'm studying. So what do? Do you drop out? Or do you finish your course and look for what you want to do later on when you do your masters? If you are in your mid-30s, you're in the mid-management of your company and you suddenly discover that you're expected to negotiate office politics and not really the things you love doing when you were 23, 24 and you got into that profession. If you're a 50-year-old guy, a 50-year-old CEO who's made a lot of money, you probably want to start your own company now that you're really secure. And all you people want to retire and start a cafe in Goa. We all had those dumb conversations. Now my point is, all that is true, but I'm gonna put a word of caution there, because I think a lot of those instincts of should I really quit this stable thing I'm doing and break rules and get out of my comfort zone and do it, it's all fine, but I think we are living in an environment where if you are not doing that, you're made to feel really inadequate. Just for example, log on to your Facebook and there'll be one friend writing a status update about how he's quit his high-paying job and launching a new startup. Another friend has quit his job to travel the world with his savings. BuzzFeed is showing you articles about like 30 reasons to quit your job before you turn 30. If it's a Saturday night and you're staying home, people are like, oh, what's wrong with you? Why are you so lonely? You're expected to do a lot of things. I dare you to stay in town on a long weekend and meet people, because people are like, why are you going out? Because I want to sleep, that's it. And really weird things happen because, like, what started happening now is after I went full time, I meet people at parties. And I think there's this, if people are not doing something outrageous, like, quitting a job and doing X, they feel a little guilty. Because I go to parties and I meet new people and I'm like, hi, I'm a stand-up comic, what do you do? Their answers are usually in the zone of, oh yeah, same old boring shit, I do a 9 to 5 job now. Don't ask, same old. Like, why are you guilty about it? You studied hard, got into the best B schools, did not bunk classes like the other cool kids, earning a lot of money, your families feel really stable with the amount of money you're earning, but why are your answers laced with so much guilt? And then they'll be like, bro, I'm so proud of you for quitting the rat race. Like, why are you proud of me? You just met me. And let's get that out of the way. People say like, I want to quit the rat race. And usually that implies dropping out of college or quitting your job. Now, I don't think the rat race is profession specific at all. Because you can be a filmmaker, and make the most shitty, boring formulaic films. You can be an engineer and you can write code for products, code and algorithms for products that are revolutionizing the world. So being a part of the rat race is pretty much up to all of us. And it's not like I can be a comedian and make the most hackneyed Rahul Gandhi jokes, which everyone will laugh at. But whether I do that or not is up to me, and that is the rat race for me. And then I talk to these people a little more. And I say, so, okay, fine, you're guilty about doing something, so what is it that you would rather do? So they are like, I would rather do this. Why aren't you doing it? Because I don't have the courage. Now that's another misconception, and this is only my experiences. I don't think, so I had two inflection points. One was when I had to quit my software job and take up advertising without a backup. And the second was when I had to give up that whole being a part of a day job and doing this full time. I don't think any of it was courage or bravery. You reach a point where you just make those decisions. It's like you want to eat pani puri at a roadside stall, you know it's unhealthy and it comes with all those risks, but you still go ahead and do it because you don't have a choice. And now that one-line resume that I gave in the beginning, that I'm an engineer, software job, advertising, I'll just break it down for you to prove that it wasn't really courage at any stage, but just a series of small coincidences that leads you where you are. Now, I got placed in a software company after Manipal, where I studied my engineering. It made me sick to my stomach. Mostly because I would hear things like, you are a pretty good resource to have. Like, I'm a person. A human being, not a resource. Stop calling me that, sir. And in retrospect, I think a lot of those seeds were sown, of that attitude was sown in Manipal, which I don't know if you know the place, but it's a very open society. And for those of you who, like a lot of people ask me, do you regret doing engineering now that you're doing stand-up? I'm like, no, because ironically, the bulk of my creative upbringing happened in Manipal, an engineering college, where I was doing theatre, where I was writing, I was doing lit stuff, and I was doing it with a lot of other people who were doctors, who were training to be architects, who were communication students. So a lot of those people were so smart, I would not trade that environment for anything else. And you'll be amazed to hear this, the best writers and performers I still know are the ones back then in college who were studying medical or engineering. Only God knows why they didn't choose to take it ahead, but that's the truth. So anyway, because of that resource thing, I quit my job. And I wanted to do something creative and I didn't want to take money from home or stuff. So advertising seemed to be the best option because I was like, you'll see how it goes. And on the side, I started taking those, everyone takes CAT in India. So I was like, just in case that doesn't work out, I'll try my MBA things, and I got a couple of interview calls. Now, this is where that whole serendipity thing comes in. 2 days before an interview, I had an interview at one of the major B schools. I was watching a documentary on Indian Ocean, the band. It's called Leaving Home. And in that documentary, you now know Indian Ocean as a very successful band, but for the first 10 years of their existence, they were pretty unknown and they were happy with it. As I found out through that documentary, and they were like, every day has been a blast. So when you hear things like those, and by the time I came out of the movie hall, it's like my left brain didn't even exist. I was all right brain, and I was like, I'm not doing an MBA. So that got out of my system. Now I was left with advertising, which I was loving. It doesn't pay you much, that field, but it's a great thing to do. You're dealing with ideas, you're dealing with really smart people, filmmakers, marketing people, all that. It was really exciting until one day even that started looking a little routine, a little boring. That's when these open mic nights started to happen in the city. And I was like, what goes of my father if I just go and try a few jokes? And that's what I started doing. And here's where I wanted to focus on that part about not having a real plan right from day one. When my fellow comedians would ask me, what about, for about 1 year I was doing it with my job. A lot of my fellow comics would ask me, dude, when are you quitting your job? I said, I'm not quitting my job because I love advertising and I love getting on stage. About a year later, I had reached that stage where I didn't have a choice. That same pani puri syndrome. I was like, yes, I used to like advertising, but now I don't compared to what I can do on stage. So that happened. And this is just to tell you that this whole environment where you should do things for the heck of it where everyone's trying to do really weird, different things, I think we'll finally, if we just keep reacting to it mindlessly, to those BuzzFeed articles and those 7 things you know before some shit happens, we'll reach a day where 10 years later we look at a bank clerk and go, oh, there goes a rebel. Let's not reach there. And so while I'm talking about when I quit my job to go full-time in stand-up, there's one thing I want to tell you about. This is an observation in hindsight about most established comedians you now see in India. They are usually divided into 2 categories, age groups rather. One is the kids who were, not kids, the comics who were in their early 20s when the whole scene started developing. You know, early 20s, that time when the world looks really rosy and you call people sir. And you're really optimistic and here's a fun thing to do, comedy, and you start doing it and you start doing it well and you start earning money. Suddenly you're 26, 27 and you're earning money and making a living out of it. The other half were people in their mid to late 30s who had made some money, acquired some stability to their lives, professional and personal, and were now bored. You know that 40-year age that everyone talks about. So they started doing stand-up, and now you'll find this, there are just those 2 categories. Now where I'm going with this is that all these decisions were very spontaneous. Where am I going next with this? And look at my paper and look. Yeah, so now that we've established that you've taken a decision, so a lot of people, they say it's a brave decision and all. I say it's not a tough decision. The tough decisions actually begin after you take the decision to take the plunge. I'll give you an example. What's been happening with me is, now that you're full-time, a lot of people, you get projects where you get a lot of money, but the work is shit. So the people you're working with, you don't like. As opposed to a lot of projects where you want to do, but you don't get paid, like TEDx. Like, I don't have a boss or an HR person breathing down my neck, so waking up in the morning is really hard. One of the bravest things I do is put a 6 o'clock alarm. And when the alarm clock rings, I'm like, who am I kidding? You know, that's for all of you who, when you guys talk to friends, you're like, you know what, I want to do a job where I can just spring out of bed. Bullshit. That never happens. You know, a profession where you don't have to hit the snooze button has not been invented yet. So that will always be a struggle. And then what happens is a lot of people, now that I've been full-time for over a year, before you make that decision, the toughest thing that you think you will have to face is whether you'll be able to earn a livelihood or not. 1 year later, I realized earning a livelihood is the easy part. The other things are not. So my friends come to me and they ask me, so dude, it's been a year, how's it going? I'm like, fine. No. How's it really going? And they'll find 5 other indirect ways to ask me how much I'm earning. And I'm like, I would tell you if that was even important, but the point is, I'm earning. But how am I earning? I'm earning through those corporate shows where people laugh only when their bosses laugh. The only good thing is that they don't leave the room because they only pee when their bosses pee. So that's the good thing that happens with me, but those are shows where I get money and I don't get the high because of which I started doing this. I put out YouTube videos which get popular, but they get popular only after I fuss over every line and every word, because I know I live in a country where any idiot can be offended with one word and file a PIL against me. But that idiot is also important to me because he's the one I make jokes on. So am I successful? I don't know. But am I loving it? Am I loving the unpredictability and the chaos? Hell yes. And there are times, when I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what happens before you make your final decision. I'm only saying this because a lot of you will have these moments in your life, and this might just give you some other outsider's perspective. Now, for about 6 months to 7 months before I finally decided to quit my job, it was always in my head, sooner or later it's going to happen, but there's always that one trigger. that makes you take that decision. That trigger for me, again, ironically, was talking to my ex-boss. So that conversation went like, sir, listen, I hate your industry and I want to quit you. Do you have any advice for me? And being the nice guy that he said, sure. And one of the advice, in fact, that just nailed it for me. He said, you know, you're taking a risk, but that risk should not be taken based on how good your times will be. Because the good times are the same in every profession. When you're successful, it's about money, it's about respect, recognition, fame, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever your profession is. Are you willing to go through the bad times? Because those are the ones that will ask questions of you. And that's what set me thinking. He asked me, imagine the worst day in your profession, where you're not earning money, you're only earning enough to survive. You are not known to the stalwarts of your profession. Every 3 days you doubt yourself, you ask yourself whether you're good enough, you ask yourself whether you made the right call. Yet, can you still find that minimum level of happiness from the work that you do? Can you still find anchors and people and systems in your life that still make you go to work, hope for the best and eventually get that best? If yes, go for it. That's what he told me. That's when I remembered, again, that Indian Ocean documentary, when Amit Kilam, their drummer, he talks about something, he's talking about their struggle phase, and very matter of factly, he says, I've never seen the struggle of Indian Ocean as a struggle. Yes, we were broke. Yes, we didn't have money. Yes, we had families to take care of. But we were just making music that nobody else did. And that was a high unlike any other. And that is what made us go through our days. And I think that is the thought I want to leave you with. Is this my true calling? I don't know. Because honestly, I don't know what's going to happen given my track record 2 years later. But maybe it's going to be fun, maybe it won't be. But I think one thing all of us owe ourselves is to be really honest to ourselves in the moment. To not really react too much to internet trends because they will come and go. And maybe one day, we might finally have that shack in Goa. And that might be our true calling. Thank you so much, guys.